that's a good approach, definitely. Not putting people in a specific category or specific label,
Yeah.
but being able to connect them as a community on the whole, which is really
Hmm.
important. Um, Speaking about Lalan and different like thunderstorm, flooding areas, environmental sustainability is definitely a hot topic. That's definitely something that should be addressed. Like, what are your plans to address the environmental concerns and promote like green initiatives in the communities and how that's doing? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna be a dooming gloom person.
Yeah.
Um, but like this adds to like I think this is why we really need to open up the Constitution and
Hmm.
really dive into the the authority that
Yeah.
municipalities have. Yes, municipalities can make commitments to transition their fleets.
Yeah.
They could do work to ensure that their government-owned buildings, meet net zero. There's different ways in which you can do the surface level things to combat climate change. But the elephant in the room when it comes to really shifting the needle to making great impact within municipalities, you need capital and you need to be able to build infrastructure that is able to transition municipalities, but then also you got to be able to maintain that. Like the concept they call it, don't laugh. It's called lumpy financing. So it's where you shuck the system with a lot of money up front, but
Yeah.
no one takes into consideration the long term sustainability around that. So
Yeah.
I like I don't want to pass the buck and say we need a plan, but like we really need a plan that is connected to financing. And then actually the larger conversation for me, to be honest with you, is figuring out ways of innovative financing tools to actually help municipalities to finance these transitions because it's
Yeah.
so many things. So it's
Yeah.
it's roads, it's combined waste management systems. There's so many um, hard infrastructure that needs to be taken into consideration when it
Mhm.
comes to municipalities. And the University of not Cambridge, the University of Calgary, they did a really cool study like outlining infrastructure in Canada
Yeah.
and
They did.
since the 60s, right? And like the
Yeah.
60s was like the last big like hoorah around Canadian infrastructure. Like it was
Right.
oh like you get a highway, you get this, you get
Mhm.
this, you get this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And since then, we haven't
Hmm.
had a massive capital investment into infrastructure.
Right.
But then we also have seen a shift of infrastructure responsibility move from province and feds who had the ability to like leverage, their financing tools to be able to finance and repair down to the
Yeah.
local government. So it's hard for me to say, we're gonna do this, 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 and this. Um, because at the end of the day, like we are so constrained. It's sad,
Yeah.
and I feel like a realist, and this is why I say I'm so gloomy and
And it's yeah. And that's
uh
why you're good for the job. That's why you're suitable because you're a realist and you're someone who thinks strategically and realistically,
yeah,
not just like about like the raw. And financing is definitely important. Like you can't do things without having
yeah,
a financial like planning system that's going to help it grow,
yeah,
help the community
yeah.
grow and stuff like that. So
So I'm
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah. Like anything that we do, we have to involve young people. And
mhm,
I'm a prime believer that youth are the now. They're not the next generation, they're the now, they're there. How do you plan engaging the youth of Westings and encourage their involvement in local governance and getting involved? Because I feel like this is an exciting time to also involve them in the learning processes as we continue to change. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like from according to the federal government, I'm still a youth. So, um, so I have been, documenting the process around running for office,
Mm,
where like I have a little journal where every night I write down my experience. I write down what made me excited, what frustrated me, what scared me. And
yeah,
instead of me just keeping it to myself, I'm putting it out there. I'm
mhm,
showcasing to folks that, if you're looking to run for office, make sure your money is in order. Make
yeah,
sure you don't be like me where you're getting into the heat of it and you're running out of money for your campaign and you're trying to figure
mm,
out how to raise money for your campaign.
yeah,
Or it's leaning into the fact that, if you are someone who, is community without,
mm,
um, it's going to be hard. It's
yeah,
not going to be easy for you to try to convince people who, don't understand your last name or thinks your first name is kind of, unique. And like
mhm,
people have our unconscious biases. So just
yeah,
letting folks
yeah,
understand that one. So like that's kind of like what I'm doing now. But ultimately, it's just meeting folks where they are and trying to
yeah,
figure out where do they see themselves within the context. Like one thing that I did really well the other day is I call it slow canvassing, where I did like a learning journey where
yeah, wow,
I went to a community champion's house and I was
yeah,
like, walk me through your community. They were like, wait,
mm,
what? I was like, yeah, like literally, I'm gonna hop in your car and we're gonna drive around and you're gonna show me stuff. And it was like really cool to see people just be like, yeah, like someone was like, oh, roads are crap. And I was like, okay, yeah, I hear you. We went into a pothole. And I was just like, yes, your road
mm,
needs to be fixed. And so being able to humanize the election
yeah,
process is
mm,
the best way to involve people in. And just like walking with people, like how do you engage with your municipality? It's like
mm,
very simple.
yeah. And that's a good process. Kudos to you doing that, because it's about going on the journey, being
Yep.
on the journey with folks and learning them and not making assumptions for them and stuff like that. And that's like I go with saying nothing without the people cannot be done. And so like
Mm.
being able to support and being able to hear the stories and address and also acknowledge it, that acknowledgement part actually really says a lot. It's like
Yeah.
you're listening and you're not adding solutions at the same time, but you're just listening and acknowledging, which is
Yeah.
important.
No,
Yeah,
hands down. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. KJ, you are doing big things. And what is like one thing you want to say to community before we leave? Like what is one thing that maybe a value or a saying that is helping you stay guided and basically grounded as you continue to move forward in this selection process?
I, I wouldn't say it's a thing. It's just
Mm,
an experience.
yeah.
It's like when I go to the grocery store or when I go to the cafe and someone say, I read your blog.
Mm,
You are very detailed.
mm,
I had to research some stuff, but I like it. And like really showcasing that folks
mm,
are ready to be treated as, like it's okay to be transparent and be like, I am afraid, I am scared, or
yeah.
I don't know, and I'll get back to you. Like literally, that was me the
Yeah.
other day. I was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Give me a week. And people were like, wait,
Yeah.
what? I was like, yeah, give me a week. Like I will go back. I'll try to understand this a little bit, and then we can have a conversation again. And some people are just like, well, he's unprepared, and some people are just like, yeah, I could wait. And I think the more we try to have different forms of participation within
Mm-hmm.
democracy, that
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm excited for. Because as someone who spent, when you study political science, everyone says that you're going to be a failure and like you're not going to be successful. So
Right.
the fact that like I'm able to utilize some of my teachings in a way to ensure that our systems that govern us are upheld, it's
Hmm.
freaking cool. Like
Yeah.
people think democracy is a right, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
And we fail to realize that sometimes that it takes work creating this governance culture that we have. And it's
Hmm.
okay to evolve it. And it's okay to let it expand and
Yeah.
let it, grow and do its own thing sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's what really excites me. And I guess the only thing is like if you're in Nova Scotia and you have not registered to vote and you don't know who you're gonna vote for, you better go find out who you're gonna vote for and get your butt out on October 19th.
Hey, vote, 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 vote.
Right.
And that's all we're gonna say. Thank you so much, KJ, for coming on to the podcast this year. And I'll be looking out. I'll be cheering you on all the way here from Toronto. But I look forward to hearing more about this amazing journey.
There
Thank
we
you so
go.
much for coming on.
No
And
problem.
folks,
Anytime.
thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and we will see you at the next episode. More and better things to come. Have a good one.